I was thoroughly impressed by what we did on defense. I'm highly encouraged by what we did on defense, man. And I think, man, we're going to cause a lot of havoc for a lot of teams with what we have.
All right, TexAgs. I almost screwed that up. We're going to keep that in, though, Nick. I almost said TexAgs Radio Rewind. TexAgs Live Rewind on a Tuesday morning. Ryan Broniger filling in for David Nuno. Nobody knows where Nuno's at. Who cares, though? We had a good time. Obviously started off with OB. Had Jamie McCoy and Jordan Pugh on the show, Shireen Williams. My favorite interview was Southland Conference Commissioner Chris Grant, who talked to us a lot about the challenges that these mid-major conferences are facing in the new atmosphere of college athletics and where this thing's going. We talked about the rev share model, which I thought he had some really interesting points about. But yeah, a lot of conversation about Saturday night and then yesterday's press conference on what Connor Wigman said, how he took ownership of his performance, and then Mike Elko's kind of plan for how they all take ownership of the performance and they move forward with his culture at Texas A&M. But we got to a lot today. Here's the rewind.
Connor, and what is your opinion on him being the starter moving forward?
I think he is your starter moving forward until he gives you a reason not to be. You have to look at that as an outlier. I won't even address the other stuff because that kind of where we went off the top of the show about personal attacks. I'm not even going to address anything else. But he's got to play better. He knows he's got to play better. And A&M does have experienced options behind him. Now, I don't think that, based off everything we've heard, Connor was the clear-cut starter going into camp. I'm sure that just like we didn't see this coming, that Mike Elko and Colin Klein didn't see it coming either.
Well, nobody. You heard Aaron Rodgers' brother, what's his brother? Jordan.
Yeah.
Talk about how he thinks he could be, first-round draft choice.
David Pollock said the same thing.
So no one saw it coming because – I've seen the guy light up Miami and light up and play really well against LSU and light up Ole Miss, and you just didn't see this coming. And like you said, is it an aberration? Maybe it is. Let's hope so.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to just say, okay, whatever we saw so many times before was the mirage, and this is the reality. No, I'm thinking this was the mirage and at the worst possible time, and everything else is the reality.
And I think, too, coming into the year, because this is Connor's third year on campus, everybody expected, for him to make these massive, consistent jumps, and he should. He's a great player. He has all the skill, all the ability. He was a great prospect coming out of high school, but there's still, he just doesn't have a huge sample size yet for playing against competition like Notre Dame. And that's to your point. You got to play better than he did, no question. And you want to be an elite player, you want to be an elite program, you got to beat teams like Notre Dame, who we both expect is going to find themselves in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But I just think, my baseball brain always works like this. There was a time where everybody wanted to bench Jace Lavalette. He was hitting 167 and had 3 homers prior to that in his freshman season, prior to going into SEC play. I just think when those coaches see these guys so much and they understand what kind of talent that Connor's got, that you got to ride with him through the tough times. And I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I said, this week we won't really learn anything unless he's really, really bad against a pretty poor McNeese team. But that game against Florida, it's going to be really important for both teams. What is important in your mind, having been through it and been through some hard times in college, what is important to you this week in practice, right? They're going to come out against McNeese. They're going to be overwhelming favorites. I don't know that we're going to learn a lot about this team next Saturday unless they really struggle again. They're probably going to win the game and win the game by a large margin. But what can be learned and improved this week in practice?
I think in practice you go out there and you show, hey, what happened this past weekend, this was an anomaly. I've got this. Whether it's tackling and making open field tackles, whether it's getting open and catching the ball, whether it's delivering the ball, whether it's a lineman blocking or protecting better, communication. There's so many little aspects of the game that you can improve on. But I think as a whole for the team, they just got to go out there, show that you can do it in practice, because you don't just snap a finger and get it done in the game. You're right. You're exactly right in that, where in practice, you got to go out there and say, you got to put it on tape, and then having a great week of practice allows you to go into the game and everything slow down and it's just fun and you're just kind of letting your hair down. I think a great week of practice is going to do wonders for us moving forward this week. Not that this is the biggest opponent, but I don't think we're going to play anything at that level of that opponent till later in the season. So I think they got a chance to see, okay, this is the level that we need to be at. This is what it's going to be like if we're going to make it to the playoff. Let's go out here and get it right. And I think they often pull up their bootstraps and get to work. And we're going to see a much better product on Saturday. But again, much better product moving forward. I think this was great for them.
With that. Yeah. Defensively, I love what I saw from the defense. The defense played their butt off. Now, from a game standpoint, man, it was a defensive slugfest. Both defenses doing their thing. They're getting the offenses off the field. We held Notre Dame under 200 passing yards. This game came down to 2 plays. It came down to 2 run plays. That's what it was. And on the 2 run plays, one was a missed tackle. The other one, man, was a misfit. It looked like they were in zero, if I'm reading it correctly. Oh, they were? Okay, yeah. Boom. Then there it is, right? So that's what it came down to, man. This was a game where who was going to break the dam first, right? We kept knocking, they kept knocking, and eventually they just broke the dam on us. But from a defensive perspective, I saw the safeties firing and run fits. Man, I was impressed by Lee at the corner position. I love what our D-line did. Everybody keeps making a big deal about we didn't get a lot of sacks. But you got to understand how the game plan was manipulated by our defensive line. Everything was 8 and under from Notre Dame in the pass game. You didn't see a lot of big shots. There was a lot of mesh routes. That's because of our D-line. Catch the ball, release the ball. So when you look at what we did defensively, man, by that performance, looking at what we did, looking at our personnel, that will carry us throughout the season because defense travels. I was thoroughly impressed by what we did on defense. I'm highly encouraged by what we did on defense, man. And I think, man, we're going to cause a lot of havoc for a lot of teams with what we have.
Well, one of the things Elko said that if I had to be critical about the way we played on defense, he thought that the back end didn't leverage the football well enough in the run game. Can you explain to me maybe what he saw and what he means by that to folks that don't understand leveraging the football by the corners and safeties and how important it is?
2 plays. I want to say it was the third quarter on that touchdown run and the fourth quarter. 2 plays that stood out. So on the touchdown run, York missed the tackle. Okay, but when you look at our nickel position, I think, and I want to say it was Lee at the corner position, they overran the football. They didn't keep it on their inside shoulder, and they didn't allow the pursuit to get there in time to make the tackle. That's what he's talking about with those run fits. So it's one thing to miss the tackle, but it's another thing to have the people in position to force it to the other defenders. When you look at the fourth quarter, I want to say they broke a 20-yard run. I want to say it was like a 3rd down maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And they had a closed set tight end personnel. They came up and they sealed off our linebacker, and our corner overran the play again, over pursued it. He broke outside down the sideline, man, maybe had a 20-yard gain. Those are the run fits that he's talking about. Now, here's one thing I want to say. Like, I heard Elko's post-game press conference, and I know that from the naked ear, the people who don't understand the game, they think that we just had an overall bad performance. He's being overly critical as a coach, because that's what coaches do when they look at that. But those little moments that I just gave you are the moments that he's talking about that change the outcome of games like that. When it's a push and pull, when it's a tug, when it's a battle, those little plays make the difference in the outcome.
So what has it been like at trying to navigate the space of the transfer portal and NIL from a mid-major conference perspective?
No, you're right. You look for the opportunities, right? We know resources, hey, they're not the same as my counterpart, Greg Sankey, Commissioner Sankey at the SEC has. And, he's very familiar with what we have on the conference at the Southland. But at the same time, I will say what the ultimate goal is and the student-athlete experience remains the same, right? Provide better opportunities to raise young leaders through athletics. And graduate, get their degrees, and go on to do great things like yourself. And so, but with that said, NIL, look, no, we're not throwing the 7-figure price tags out for quarterbacks and things of that nature. But we do have entrepreneurs when our student athletes are building those local relationships in the communities. And our coaches do have some donors and friends of the program that are helping out in special situations to get them out. Now, it's not a whole roster, and I even tell you from the other front, is, the opportunities for the transfer portal has actually benefited us. I like to think, as many more opportunities because, guys and gals, they want to play, right? They want film, and some want to go on and extend their careers, and some just want the opportunity to compete because they train for it all day in and day out, and they might not can get that at the Power 4 level. And so we're benefiting from those transfers too.
There's been kind of not a metamorphosis, but some coming and going of teams within your league. It now looks a lot more like it did when I was playing back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But just how pleased are you with what the conference looks like from a regionality perspective now, right? Because there was some times, we got Central Arkansas and they were having to make trips to A&M Corpus Christi. And I know, that had to be awful on, those buses, those charter buses. I've been on them. They're tough. But how pleased are you with just the regionality feel of what the Southland has now gotten into here in 2024?
Yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled. I mean, the exciting part is we call it the gas tank league and call it that for a reason, right? Because, even from our most stretched east and west, UTRGV, all the way to the University of New Orleans, it's probably a flight, but reasonably you can drive it, right? And going throughout right along I-10 and keep extending out. And so from what the conference looked like in regards to membership reflections from 2018 till we do today, couldn't be more so. We got 12 that are really fighting for their stake. And look, it's no longer we're just talking about winning conference championships. They want to go compete in the postseason in the NCAA. And you see that from our scheduling perspective and what we're doing in football. You've seen it in soccer and some of the recruits we have there too, that our coaches are looking to compete against the best still. And that we're not just looking to keep it as a regional aspect. We're looking to take those resources, recombine them, and put them towards the student athlete experience. So we're putting the best on the field.
Yeah. All right. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. It helps us. It helps you. And David will be back in the host chair tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in.